here today. This is Chimera. Chimera, what did you do over this weekend?
I topped the regional with Gimmick puppets.
Okay, and what place did you get?
I got 6th place.
You bastard. What regional were you at?
I was at the Indianapolis WCQ regional.
Okay.
And I got to see a lot of really great players stare at my cards and say, "What the hell are you playing?"
How many people was the regional, give or take?
It was about, I think, 360 people. It was top, it was like top 40-ish that got an invite, I believe. But obviously I got top 8, so that doesn't matter. So I'm super happy, went X1. And yeah, I can't wait to show you what I did.
Right on. Do you remember how many rounds it was?
Oh yeah, it was 9 rounds.
9 rounds?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez,
But
consistent.
let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start with the main deck.
Right on. 40 card main deck?
No, 42.
42.
I actually was playing 44, but somebody who I will shout out at the end convinced me to take out 2 really penis cards, but we'll talk about those later. So we'll start off with the starters. So we have 3 Rouge Doll, 3 Soldiers. These are pretty much the cards you want to see in your opening hand as far as just the basic combos. Sometimes I would start with both, and usually you want to start with summoning this guy so you can dump in one of the other cards I'm going to show you to kind of interrupt your opponent's plays. And this was Ash Bait for another card that I'll show you. But basically, these guys, you want to see these, they're amazing. This summons 2, this dumps her, who adds back to hand when she goes to graveyard from anywhere but hand. It's a really awesome card. Then we have the 2 Baby. This is not a starter, but this is an extender. But the great thing about this card is it reads, "You cannot interact with me for the rest of the turn." This card has that graveyard effect. You banish it, and then it says you can't respond to Gimmick Puppet monster effects. It's awesome. That, along with this one, you cannot target Gimmick Puppet cards with card effects. If I resolve one or both of these, it was basically over, and I was basically playing solitaire at that point. It was really great. Then what you typically dump off of or summon off of her or dump off of him if you already have her is your Cattle Scream. Cattle Scream is amazing. It's a summon by detaching material, and it has a hidden effect where you can summon a monster from your opponent's grave to their side of the field, and that enables a lot of wacky plays, FTK stuff. We play 1 Dreary. She's also a great extender, a great dump if you already have everything else in your hand. And you know, if you run into situations where you have her and her, you basically summon her, dump her into the grave, and then you can continue from there. Really great. Honestly, I sided her out most of the time because she was basically a huge brick. But again, I would still not cut her from the deck, and I would sometimes side one of him out. But you know, it is what it is. The worst normal in the deck, but is still integral. He is the coolest art. Yes, Scissor Arms is very cool.
It's like so Silent Hill.
Exactly. He's cool. So the nice thing about him is that unlike Soldiers, who has to dump an 8, he can dump anything. So if I get in a scenario where I have him and her, what I'll do is I summon him and I'll dump the baby, or I'll dump the doll, or it'll bait an interaction, which is just great. So definitely won't cut this. This is like required. And then the new card that got printed, Fiendish Knight. This card is crazy. So one matchup that I was afraid of was Blue Eyes. This card cannot function when Spirit's on the field because this card summons 2 monsters at the same time. This card, he summons himself first, or he summons the other card first, and then he summons himself. So it doesn't count as a simultaneous summon. But there's a really funny thing you can do with him, where if your opponent ashes Rouge and you have a thrust in your hand, you go, okay, effect, summon the Ash to their field, summon him, activate thrust, you add your Terraforming or your Condolence Puppet to hand, and it's still full FTK. So that's the puppet monsters. So let's get these out of the way. Next, the spells. So probably one of the most broken cards ever printed. Mansion. You play 4 copies. It basically reads, all Gimmick Puppet monsters on the field are unaffected by XYZ monster effects and cannot be destroyed by battle except for Exceed monsters, which I actually learned that in the middle of a match against a Fire King player because they summoned a Typhon and then attacked into one of my guys. And I'm like, oh, he stays on the field. It's like, no, he's an Exceed. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I just burned him for game. So great card. Honestly, it's like, why isn't this card limited? They limited the Tempai card, so it's just crazy. If I draw this, I basically win.
You get that, I get Fortress, everyone's got their... Now, does that... shit, I just had a question to go with this.
Yeah. So for one thing, this does not stop effects in the hand or in the graveyard from being interacted with. It's just on the field. But there were a few opponents of mine where I finished the game and they showed their hand and they had an Ash in hand. And I'm like, interesting. He didn't Ash me because he didn't read the card.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you don't have to tell him. Oh, I was going to... So with Detonator being an XYZ, is Detonator probably the biggest problem card of
yes.
the format?
Detonator was a huge problem. I thought was a huge problem, but I found out through playing an opponent like midway through the match that I had a way to play around it, and it was really funny. I'll show that a little bit later. But yeah, I dumpstered Mitsu Ryzeal and other Ryzeal variants except for one, but I'll get into that later as well. So this is actually the best card in the deck. Condolence Puppet along with Foolish Burial. This card reads, I can dump Gimmick Puppet monsters into the grave up to the number of extra deck monsters you have summoned from the extra deck on your field, +1. I resolved this on a Ryzeal player who had 3 monsters from the extra deck on the field at the same time. So I dumped 4, and then I went, okay, activate Baby, and he's like, okay, negate with the field spell. Okay, activate Bisque. You can't target anything. So basically, his Detonator became useless for the rest of my board, and it's so funny. This card legitimately won me like 75% of my games.
And if you have the field spell up, they can't respond to that with Ash?
No, they can respond to it with Ash, but by that time, they either had to have Ash the field spell or Ash this, and at that point, I'm already winning.
Do you typically try and save that after, like, or do you like try and bait out negations if you can, and then drop that, because that's pretty much like your go button?
Yes. So most of the time, I want the field spell to resolve if I don't have any plays. But a lot of the time, there's actually a few instances where I would activate this, not search, and then activate this to get the baby into the grave so that they can't interact with Rouge Doll. I did get drolled a lot, and I'll talk about how I played around that. I wouldn't change this. The only thing I might change is that Foolish Burial, like, even though it's basically another copy of this, there were times where I basically sided this out a lot going second. So I would rather see this than see that. But still, cracked card. And then the Gimmick Puppet searches. These are the rank ups that you have. So most lists play 2 of this. I also play this. This one has a once per duel effect to add to hand, and then also there's a monster in the extra deck that adds it back to hand as well. This card reads, if this resolves, every card on the field that's face up is negated permanently except for the monster that's summoned. And this got me in opportunities to like further extend beyond interactions that my opponent had. So it's just a really funny card to search, and it catches people off guard because if I draw this and they draw me,
this deck catches people off guard.
Yes, it's so funny. It's so great, and I wouldn't change that. Numeron Force, I'm gonna always keep that. And then the one trap. This is a Snatch Steal up to the number of Gimmick Puppet Exceeds I control, and I actually resolved this against a Malice player where he had summoned 2 bodies, and then I stole those 2, and he was still able to get into access code, but he wasn't able to like have a good board outside of that. So he attacked me for 53, and then I proceeded to OTK from there, which is, again, really funny. Now for some of the non-engine. So I played the Thrust and Talent package. This was a last minute include. This was amazing. Anytime I saw this card and any one of my ways to summon bodies onto the field and then get something to my opponent's grave, it was fantastic. I was actually able to search out Condolence or search out Terraforming for the field spell multiple times. But there was even opportunities where I just set the next few cards that I'll show here that were like it was just, I would not change this at all. This is fantastic.
Win cons with it so easily.
Exactly. Searching out a win con, searching out talents to rip, searching out. I maybe did the draw too for this once, but most of the time.
Just looking at everyone's hand.
Actually, most of the time I stole monsters, because what I would end up doing is I would steal the monster, I would go and burn them, and then I can actually blow up their own monster after summoning strings.
So just searching Snatch Deal.
Yep. There's actually a really funny play where I stole their detonator, and I used that to make it so they couldn't interact any further with me, because I would just pop whatever they did. So really great. Now for, and then of course the one of Called by the Grave. This was great. Obviously sided out going second. There was a matchup against Mitsu where I did keep it going second, and it actually saved me because I banished the recursion that they had in the field. I think it was the Ame or the Habakiri that I ended up banishing that actually basically saved me that game. So, great card. If you can play it, play it. Now for the hand traps and the board breakers. Outside of Condolence.
Feet, Ash, goddammit.
Yeah, of course. This is from Dude, so this is like the first copy I got. You gotta play it. You gotta play the Feet Ash. 3 Fua in main. Then I played the 3 Droplet and the 3 Impulse. I love this. So in total, it was like 13 cards that I would consider like either board breakers and or basically like equalizers, negates. I did not miss not having Imperm in this deck. In fact, most of the matchups that I had, Imperm was bad. Targeted negation, I think, right now is really bad. And that's why our Drop It was great. Having Fua in the main was great. Ash is Ash, and Impulse was just, I would set Impulse off of Thrust if I didn't have a great play, because like outside of the trap, this is the only other trap that I can do. And I even had an opportunity where I had set Impulse and I had Impulse in hand, and it was actually, it behooved me to activate the one on field first.
Is the other one, what's it do if you have a Trap Engrave?
If you have a Trap Engrave, it pops the thing. It destroys whatever it was that was activated. It is once per turn, but the important thing is that it allows me to get in a position to prevent them from resolving Nib.
Right.
Yeah, which is actually great. This is the only deck probably in the format that can do this, where it can actually negate a Nib going first, because I can summon a guy to their field and then they nib and I just impulse them, and it breaks people's brains that you can do that. So, and I can do that on the 5th summon in certain scenarios. So that's the main deck. I guess we'll go for do we want to do the extra deck or the side deck?
Extra's cool.
All right, let's do the extra deck. So, extra deck. So the first one I want to go over is this is what helped me win a game against like a fully established Ryzeal board. So this card is a Snatch Steal and also has another effect to turn anything on the field to an 8. But the important thing is that this is the target for the reveal of Rouge Doll. So Rouge Doll requires you to reveal a ranked monster that is equal to the ranked Gimmick puppet. It's equal to the level of a monster you want to summon from deck. So most of the time I would be revealing this. If I haven't already summoned soldiers. But yeah, basically what happened is that he had a detonator and he had 3 materials on it, and I basically activated the effect, summon soldier, he pops the soldier, grab Rouge effect, summon, and then go into a guy, he pops that. And then on his 3rd one, he pops detonator, and I grab, I summon a Link monster, and then the Fiendish Knight activates Engrave. He pops that. Fiendish Knight, I summon the soldier. They're both 4s, and then I overlay for this, and I activate the effect to steal his detonator, and I was able to keep playing after that. It was really, really funny that I was able to do that, and then just continue extending from there, because then I was able to detach a material from the from the detonator, summon out the Cattle Scream, and then normal summon the Fiendish Knight that I had added back to hand. just hilarious, absolutely. And because I didn't resolve this, I was just able to do the search again and then summon more bodies out and then just FTK from there. Really great. But this is a required card. I might even consider if there was room in this extra deck to play a second one of this just in case, but it never came up. The main package here, this is the Fanatics and Fantasics. Fantasics searches out the rank up and gives you an extra normal. This searches out the trap and has a dual function of both putting bodies on your opponent's field and burning them for summons. So it'll burn for half of their attack when they're summoned. It's their original attack. Also, he's just a big fucking guy, 3,100 attack. So there was a lot of cases where I just summoned this guy, set the trap, and passed to avoid getting nibbed. And honestly, those low commitment boards actually came up quite a bit, as long as I was backed up with like a Droll or a Forbidden Droplet. It was great. Great cards. Then the limited guys, strings, put string counters on everything. Dark strings, when you summon on top of him, it blows up everything with string counters on the field. Actually, there was a lot of cases where I was drolled, so I ended up just kind of either summon this as a big guy, or summon it to pop the cards that I've put on their field or that they had. Because its effect to burn requires that you draw a card first before. So even though you won't draw a card and you won't burn them, you'll still destroy anything with string counters. So it still came up. And you know, sometimes you just have to summon this guy because he's big. He's 3K and this guy's 33. So it comes up in cases where you just need a big bungus on the board. Then, you know, more feet. There's Giant Grinder and Giant Hunter. Giant Grinder was my main FTK enabler.
Deck is getting sus, dude.
Yeah, it is pretty sus. You know, you can kind of see the feet on Hunter too, but yeah, Giant Grinder. You burn a card, or sorry, you detach a material. You can destroy a monster if it exceeds. You pop it. I had a funny scenario where I had the bull under him. Oh my god, what the hell was his name? Cattle Scream. So Cattle Scream underneath this guy, it gives the effect to summon back. So what I did is he had a Typhon, so I go, okay, burn your Typhon 29, and I go effective Cattle Scream under Giant Grinder, summon the Typhon back, burn the Typhon again. So I just do instantly, what is it? That's like 67, like 6,800 damage, and then I attack with the Giant Grinder. 29, that's 58, sorry. No, yes, 58. Do 58, and then from there I'm able to just do just enough damage to kill them by attacking with two guys. And this guy, he's really cool because what I could do, there's scenarios where if I have access to Numeron Force and they have a skill drain on the field, I go Numeron Force to negate the skill drain, and then I can use this guy to then just pop whatever's on the field, because this is the only in-archetype or in-deck method of destroying back row, which is really, it does come in clutch. I did mess up in one game. I accidentally detached the material from it and it only had one, and then I was like, oh crap, I can't do anything, so I just left with the body, and I think that actually did lose me a game, but I'll go over that probably later here. The only links that you run in the deck, Chimera Doll. This is basically the extender. It locks you into Gimmick Puppet Exceeds, but basically at that point, you're just searching out an extender. This still works under Droll, because if you can't add, you just dump the monster, and then you can special summon the monster from your hand. So oftentimes, if I am under Droll, I just dump the Fiendish Knight, summon the guy, and Fiendish Knight just adds from the graveyard. So really great, you know, and 1,500 attack is not too bad for kind of finishing up a game, so that's nice. And the sauce. Gimmick Puppet of Leo and 2 Disaster Leo. I really wish I could have resolved this at least once during the tournament, but I did not. But I did win a game in time against the Mitsu player, because I basically summoned Disaster Leo, and we had about like 2 or so minutes left. So I summoned Disaster Leo, use his effect to detach to put a Destiny counter on him. Doesn't matter. I rank up into this guy, detach a material, and he does 1,000. Now, his effect is if at the end of the duel, at the end of that turn, you have 2,000, your opponent has 2,000 or less life points, then you win the duel. That didn't come up, but it was still really nice to have this in the deck because there's a combo line that you can do where basically if you just have Rouge Doll and, if you just have soldiers and either scissors or baby, that's full double Leo FTK. But again, it's kind of a more complicated line, but also loses to Nib really hard unless you have Mansion, and I didn't want to really risk it. So yeah, that's the main deck and extra deck. So we'll go over the side deck. So play the 3 Lancia. The best deck in the room was Malice, even though I only saw it in my last match, and I don't even think I ended up resolving this. And even if I did, I don't think it really made a difference. 3 Droll. I against Mitsu and Ryzeal and any variations of that, I actually sided out Fua, put in Perulia and this. And that was like the correct play because those decks basically, if Perulia's up, they can't play, or at least they can't play optimally. And against Mitsu specifically, what they would do is that they would do everything in their power to avoid summoning from hand, and it actually causes them to get into a position where they can't have the Ame on field to board break because they would had to have searched it natively. But then also Droll comes in from there. 3 Perulia. There was a game I played against Fire King where I did 2 of these in draw phase, and then he searched, and I'm like, well, I have a Droll in hand, so I might as well just Droll him too. And it actually won me the game because he had absolutely nothing to do at that point. He just ended on the continuous, the field spell, and just like the new Okanix that summons the old Fire King guy. Those are the hand traps. Board breakers, I put in Lightning Storm and Heavy Duster. I really waffled on whether or not I wanted these, but having these was so amazing. Baiting out negates to then resolve the Condolence Puppet was fantastic. In my last match against Malice, game 2, he had set up a board of the Code Talker and like 3 or 4 back row, and I missequenced it. I went Lightning Storm, and then he negated it, and then I go Lightning Storm again because I had another Lightning Storm in my hand, and instead of doing back row like I should have, I did monsters, and so I lost the extra dump off of Condolence Puppet. So if I sequenced that a little differently, it would have been better, but I was afraid that he would summon out Whitebinder and then just banish cards from my graveyard, and I didn't want to do that because I would have lost all the advantage. But then again, when I thought about it, it was like I should have done that anyways.
Lightning Storm, and then the Duster for all the back row after.
Oh God, yeah. Well, if I had, that would have been cracked if I had that too. But yeah, it was just 2 Lightning Storms, and then I had a Forbidden Droplet and like some other cards. But yeah, I lost that game, but game 3, it was just Mansion
So
Condolence.
that would have been your last match for the Malice player?
Yeah, it was the Malice player, exactly. Let's see. And then the last 3 are matchup dependent. This card soloed every single Mitsu player and almost every single Ryzeal player as well, because they basically couldn't play. A lot of people didn't realize that the way this card works is that if you play an Exceeds deck, when you detach a material, if it's a monster, it goes to the grave because it's treated as a material under the monster, not a monster. The important thing is that basically the card has to exist in the same state from where it was to where it goes.
So detaching your materials sends everything to graveyard.
Exactly. So, which is like a really interesting interaction. And I actually told this to the Fire King player I was playing because he had detached a material from a monster and from a Typhon. And I said, oh yeah, no, that goes to grave. And he had banished it. And it was to his advantage for that because so I could have just said, oh, you're fine. But no, I wanted to make sure I kept the game state good because with this deck, that was the biggest issue that I had is keeping the game state good because there's so many, now that there's so many different interactions I have to keep track of, especially with like keeping track of, did I resolve baby? Did I resolve this guy? Did I resolve Rouge? And it just kind of makes the lines a little bit more complicated. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it was fun.
Right on. Well, congratulations on 6th place, Ben. That is no easy feat. Obviously, Definitely setting the bar high for Gimmick puppets. What is like the one thing that you would say, like, I mean, does the deck lose to anything, or are there any choke? Like, I mean, without going too deep, I mean, like Droll hurts it, or like what?
So Droll hurts it if you haven't searched the rank up yet. But if you search up the rank up, then there are lines that basically get you to FTK anyways.
Right on.
And because I was playing Thrust, a lot of the time I was able to just set the cards that I needed, like the trap to steal. So honestly, like outside of like some misplays with that, Droll didn't really hurt me too much. I didn't see a single Bisteel, which is crazy, and people just didn't know what cards to banish anyways from my graveyard if they had the choice to do it.
Right on.
Because people don't read.
Fair enough. Any shout outs you want to give?
Yes. First and foremost, I want to shout out to Craig. Craig helped me test this deck. And the reason why I wanted to mention this specifically is that I said in the beginning 2 penis cards. The penis cards were Set Rotation and Way Where There's a Will. Every time I played that against him, I lost. So we took those out. It was going to be 44. It went down to 42. Craig, thank you so much. Thank you for the testing. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you for coming with me to Kebabi and having the most delicious Persian food that you've ever had and ever will have, unless it's from me. And I want to thank Zeeks for helping me get to this point, because basically they were the first shop that I got to when I moved to Illinois, and everybody there's been great. Austin, you've been fantastic. All the guys that helped me test, all the guys that I played with, Peter, Austin, Ramon, Reese, lots of names, Tucker, Lyle.